After some painstakingly large searching, I managed to find a cheap copy of Noragami Side Stories of Shuuishuu, how you pronounce it in Japanese. The very, very obscurely large Japanese titling. But yeah, so I found it, found a cheap price, realised 2 days later it was actually my local store, so I was kind of like, they kind of almost wanted to throw my thing out a window, but anyway. What can you do sometimes? But anyway, yeah, so the side stories themselves were quite interesting for the sole reason. For me, a lot of the personalities actually bled into the side stories. They could have just been a side thing and been like completely different. But yeah, it was more comedic than it was serious. But there was serious stuff in it. But the actual personalities of the characters, like Kazuma's idea of not really thinking things through and trying to jump to conclusions and not looking at the kind of broader spectrum, but going for the kind of normal outcome. Did actually kind of bleed through, like in a sense we got that section where he looked after the bunny, but didn't actually think that he could have sent it to a hotel, but instead he goes to like Yato, and Yato could have killed it inside the Holy War, so he didn't really think the thing through very well. Like he does in the actual manga and the anime itself. He doesn't really think the things through very well. He kind of just jumps to the first outcome and doesn't really think maybe something else might actually come out of this if I do something else. So yeah, I quite like that as a whole because it did actually kind of bleed into the actual side stories. Then we also got a new actual god called Kiki. Kiki being a god of the internet and basically helping kids find stuff out, stop stuff, because Yato had a stalker, so he had to like kind of ask Kiki for some help. And then yeah, that was for me one of the better chapters because it gave us a dynamic, it gave us a new character, a new dynamic, and it kind of brought some more feels to the actual like manga chapter itself because it was towards the end when she said I don't want to be forgotten. I was kind of like, oh no, don't do that again. Do not want that to happen again. And then yeah, and then we've also got the new whole idea with the Shinkis kind of. If you have like a popular Shinki or Shinki with a lot of experience, it's actually better for a new god because a new god can have a Shinki with that's really, really good basically without having to do anything. And for the most part, I actually didn't really know, but apparently a Shinki can actually name a god sometimes in some circumstances if a god's new. So I thought, yeah, that was new. I kind of learned something. I learned something different. I learned also about cold reading as well. When you read the personality of a person by just looking at their appearance, it's kind of like, huh, didn't look at that. But yeah, the Fortune Teller chapter was pretty good as well. That was the other good one I would say, because the Fortune Teller chapter kind of made you realise you shouldn't be doing illegal things or like duping the public. You gotta do serious things, man. You gotta kind of be a good man to help your children. It's kind of like, oh, you know what? That was nice. It was a nice chapter because his daughter was sick, so he's basically trying to help her pay the bills and get her well, but he couldn't really, so he has to do something kind of different and something he didn't really want to do. But then he becomes like a hard-earning man by going to a real job. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, good on him. I like that. It's kind of a nice chapter. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, we did actually get some kind of feelsy moments. Like, it wasn't very many character development, like segments. There was new characters introduced. We also got 2 chapters which were adapted in the animes themselves, respectively. Like chapter 1 was adapted into episode 7 of season 1, if I remember correctly. That scene was practically one of the better scenes of the season, anyway. So even if we got it adapted, it was still a pretty freaking good scene. It was completely the same in both mediums, anyways. It wasn't actually that much change. Then we also got the OVA, the third OVA. If anyone's watched my video, I've actually reviewed it, but shameless plug there. But yeah, we got the actual third OVA in the manga chapter, which was the later chapter, which with the writer, or the murderer writer, who basically says, oh, I can become popular if I actually murder the people, then write my memoirs about it. So basically, I was like, I wrote something similar to this one once before. I did. I was like, huh, you know, someone stole my idea. But yeah, anyway, we actually got adapted to an anime, which is OVA 3, which I think for the most part was actually better done in the anime than it was actually in the manga. There was more characters in the anime than there was in the manga. I mean, the manga only had Hiyori, Yukine, and Yato, so it was only them 3 for what I can see. And yeah, that was kind of like, oh, it wasn't a big concern to me, basically, because it wasn't actually that badly done, but I think the anime did it better because there's more characters and it's kind of more of a dynamic between them. And it's kind of more funny for that reason. It was still funny in the actual manga, but the anime had like Bishamon and everyone like that. So it's kind of a bit more funny and it's kind of a bit more of a retreat. I kind of didn't feel out of place in the anime, I'd say. But yeah, I'd say the last chapter as well. the last chapter, for the sole reason that one panel where when Hiyori just goes, "Oh, why do you want a second shrine?" He's kind of like, "Don't be silly, you're my favorite shrine." I was like, "Oh man," I was like, "Feeling the feels again." Feeling the feels, kind of like the subtle feels of these mangas. That's what I'd say. Noragami has one thing going for it. It has a subtle feels, and subtle feels are done pretty damn well. But yeah, I thought that was pretty good. And again, we got some Yatorin, and Yatorin's always my favorite. But yeah, for the most part, I'd say it's actually a pretty damn good like set of stories. Hopefully, we actually get more of them later on. It's kind of like a nice breather between, like, say, you read some extensive like manga chapter of Noragami that's kind of like got, I don't know, someone dying, and like Kazuma practically got like murdered like out of the blue, and you're like, oh man, I can't even contemplate what the hell I'm doing. What even is life anymore? You can kind of read these. They kind of actually like they're a nice little kind of calm down. Again, I would have liked them to be in the manga itself, because it's a nice little calm down, because we did get them in the actual manga. We've got those little tiny like manga like kind of things in between. But I don't know, these kind of felt like they deserved to be like maybe 5 panels longer in the actual manga, and it kind of just felt like a nice breather just after reading such a big kind of chapter. Say, like someone dying, kind of like, oh man, what do I do with my life anymore? I can't even figure out what do I do. You kind of like, don't know. But then you got these stories, and yeah, so many kind of nice moments, I'd say. But sadly, the actual bonus chapter to do with Christmas wasn't actually in this volume, which kind of made me surprised as I read it. It was like chapter 7 of the actual volume. I was like, okay, must be in the actual volume itself then. But no, it wasn't. It was kind of like a side thing completely, but it's got that into chapter 7, which was kind of weird. So yeah, that was probably the weirder part of it. But anyway, as you know, I've already reviewed it anyway, so it's fine. But anyway, that was Stray Stories. That was basically all I can review until February 6th, which I think is when the next chapter's out. February 7th, like something like that. So yeah, until then, I have been the driver. If you want to leave a like, do leave a like, something like that. If you want to leave a sub, do leave a sub, and something like that. With all that said, I have been the driver. And I will see you guys later. Bye for now.